News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moskow.
And I'm John Tucker.
Well, John, President Trump is pressing for a de-escalation of attacks on Middle East energy assets after Iranian and Israeli strikes on major gas hubs jolted global markets. Hours after Israel carried out a strike on a key gas field in Iran, Iran retaliated by hitting energy infrastructure in the Gulf, causing damage to the world's largest liquefied natural gas export plant. We get more from Bloomberg Middle East correspondent Jumana Bersachi in Dubai.
Yesterday evening, while Qatar managed to successfully intercept 4 incoming ballistic missiles, one of them did manage to penetrate and to cause, quote, extensive damage. This is per a press release that was put out by Qatar Energies. And that word, that description, extensive damage, is what is impacting global markets today. And clearly, this is one of the most important consequential export facilities in the world, which accounts for about 20% of the world's supply of LNG. So the response from the Gulf states in the last 24 hours has been one of extreme anger.
And that's Bloomberg Middle East correspondent Jumana Bersachi. On a post on social media, President Trump said that neither the U.S. nor Qatar was involved in the Israeli operation targeting the Iranian field. He called on the Islamic Republic to act with restraint.
And again, the escalation having a ripple effect across the energy markets. As we said, the price of Brent crude is up to $115 a barrel, and European natural gas up 24% this morning. Dan Murtaugh covers the energy markets for Bloomberg.
Now we're not talking about, okay, once the strait is open, we'll get things rolling again in a matter of weeks. When we're talking damage to these facilities, I mean, we're talking now potentially a matter of months that production could be offline. And, we won't know the details for a little while here, but traders are going to start pricing in that risk of longer and larger supply outages, and that's going to be a big problem for the global economy.
That's Bloomberg's Dan Murtaugh, again noting that European benchmark futures jumped as much as 35%, pushing LNG prices to more than double their pre-war levels.
Well, John, Bloomberg News has learned the FBI is investigating whether Joe Kent, who resigned his position as a top counterterrorism official this week in protest of the Iran war, improperly shared classified information. Sources say the investigation precedes Kent's resignation on Tuesday, but it comes as the Justice Department has undertaken multiple investigations over the last year into political foes of President Trump.
And Fed Chair Jay Powell says it's too soon to know the impact of surging oil prices on the U.S. economy. He says the central bank won't cut rates again until inflation cools. And as heard right here on Bloomberg Radio, Powell talked about the impact of the war on inflation.
We don't know how big these effects are going to be, and I don't want to characterize them in any way. Of course, people are already seeing gas prices. Gas prices are up almost $1 a gallon. We hope that isn't for a long period of time, and of course people will feel that, but I don't want to speculate about what that might mean, because honestly that would sound like I have some idea of what's actually going to happen, and I don't think anybody really does.
Well, the Federal Reserve yesterday decided to leave rates unchanged for a second straight meeting.
And in a more surprising move here, John Powell also commented on the ongoing investigation into the Fed by the Department of Justice. Powell says he won't be resigning as a member of the Fed's Board of Governors for now.
I have no intention of leaving the board until the investigation is well and truly over, with transparency and finality. And I would refer you to the statement that was in the Fed's brief that you all have seen, and I won't have anything more for you on that.
And Powell's term as chair expires in May, but he could remain on the rate-setting Federal Open Market Committee as a governor. The Fed chief also said he would continue to serve as chair if his successor, Kevin Warsh, is not confirmed by the end of his term.
And the Middle East war, the backdrop of a key meeting in Washington today. Japan's prime minister is going to meet with President Trump. Let's get more from Washington and Bloomberg's Amy Morris.
Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi says her upcoming visit with President Trump is going to be a challenge. Trump criticized Japan for rebuffing his demand for warships to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. Takaichi ruled out deploying naval assets to the conflict zone, citing Japan's tight constitutional limits. Her trip to Washington is seen as a test of her leadership on the world stage. World leaders will be watching how she manages the fallout from President Trump's request. In Washington, Amy Morris, Bloomberg